second favorite member of the podcast, Michael Ponderous Sea Lion. What's up, dude?
I have nothing to say.
All
It's
right.
It's the biggest travesty in modern gaming.
One out of
in my
5
opinion.
people agree with you.
Yeah.
21%. So,
Should be 5 out of 5, but
all right. So,
I hate everyone that
third,
listens to this podcast.
third most favorite podcaster, voted by public opinion, is yours truly, Killzil. What's happening,
Yes.
buddy?
Hey, buddy. Yeah, all I had to beat was a wet blanket, and now I'm third place.
And here's the fourth favorite member of the podcast, Astro's Burger King. You guys suck. I hate all of you.
I'm the
You guys
most
are the
favorite
worst.
member
Trash.
of the podcast. Okay, for all
I
of you guys,
got 2 votes, and one of them was me.
So
He's not
for
gonna
all-
like that when he listens to this.
No, he won't. So for all of you guys out there that don't know what the hell we're talking about, in the Discord, Astros claim to be the community favorite podcasters. So we decided to make a Twitter poll to put that to the test.
Because he
And-
hates himself and he just wants additional reasons to hate himself. So
Yeah.
he said that knowing that we would call him on it and make a poll.
So
Crafty
I
bastard.
did exactly that, and we actually got one of the largest turnouts on.
It's like 60 plus votes. That's pretty
Here
good.
I'll look it up. Just
Wasn't it like, I think it's just the polls that have me in them get the most votes. Because didn't that happen when I was first joining the podcast and you asked people
Oh
whether
yeah,
or not?
you got a lot of votes for that too. 59 votes,
There we go.
which is probably the largest engagement that we've ever had on a Twitter poll.
If only Sam was still on the podcast, he'd be fully erect at that Twitter engagement.
Oh, so much engagement! Oh, the
So
public
much
loves
Twitter
it.
engagement.
So, also we did another vote as a reply to that, where we did a Tycho's new name poll, and so now Tycho will be referred to as Nutter Butter for a Brother.
That's not.
I
much
was already
better.
calling him that, but I'm glad everyone will be on the same page now.
Actually,
It's so catchy. I'll remember that every
no,
time.
it was actually so I came home from was it college? Yeah, college, and my buddy Greg was at my house, and I walked in with a big package of Nutter Butters, and Greg was super stoned and looks at me and he goes, "Hey man," I go, "Yeah, Greg, what are you looking for? You got a Nutter Butter for a brother?" It was too funny. Had to give him the entire package. Like, fine, you win. Here, take the whole damn package. You enjoy that. So, apparently, the community at large agrees with my experience in college, and that's going to be Tycho's new name. And he has a backstory now. So there you
And
go.
the Tycho Tumpard origin story. That's what we were all waiting for.
Oddly enough, that story is like 5 times the actual Tycho Tumpard origin story, which is like, there's a guy on YouTube I thought was funny. That was the previous origin story.
That no one knows about.
No
It
one knows
not
who
famous.
he is. Nobody's ever heard of the guy. But anyway, so yeah, Twitter. We've been killing Twitter lately. Pouring one out for Sam. Anyway, so
Just shout podcasters who aren't here. That's
so
what we
yeah, I got horrifically bad news for everybody in rant form because I know how you guys love that. Lola episode 213 is dead. It cannot be recovered. Though I actually believe that it could have been recovered, but I got the worst person at Twitch support. So, immediately I deleted it. Within like half an hour, I sent in an email. I'm like, hey, I deleted this shit. I need your help. Right? Like, please recover this episode. I get a deal back 8 days later. Right? Is my first response from Twitch support. And it says, hi,
Yeah.
I'm fill in the blank from Twitch support. I just noticed that you wrote this 8 days ago. Are you still having a problem or has it been resolved? And I'm like, no, it's still deleted. It didn't undelete itself. Please still help me. Thank you. It's like full 8 days. Like the guy writes me back, "Oh man, I'm sorry, but I can't recover a video if it's been out for more than 14 days." And I write
Oh
back,
shit!
"Well, no." I write back to him, was like, "No, great, it is. It's still. This is day 9, right? So we're in 14 days. You're good."
StarCraft reference. There we go.
Yeah. Oh, nice. I love that guy. Anyway,
I love that guy.
I was like, so this is day number 9. Like, you could totally. We're within 14 days. It's good. And the guy writes me back the next day, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, man. I can't recover a video if you don't archive your live streams." It's like, I do. That's how the video was made. I archive them. It's there. It's on the settings. I do that. And then I get another response back the next day, and it's like, "Yeah, man, we can't recover videos." And I'm like, "Wait, what? What? Why did you keep telling me all these awkward criteria if you just can't do it at all? It doesn't make any sense. Why you tell me, oh, I can't do it if it's not within 14 days. Oh, I can't do it if it's not, archived. If you don't have that enabled." And then I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I meet all of your criteria by a miracle. So please save my video." "Oh, dude, I can't save a video if it's a video." Like, what? What? Why
Did
didn't
you
we
try
start there?
Did you try saving it as a hologram instead?
They're like, "Actually, what you need to do is load it onto a utility droid and send it in an escape pod to a desert planet, and then we can recover it." Fucking Twitch support. Oh, come to find out, by the way, and this is awesome, that apparently you get differing levels of Twitch support based on whether you are a nobody, an affiliate, or
Oh, I'm
a
sure.
contracted partner.
Depending on how much money you
Yeah.
make us. Yeah.
So if you are like nothing, you get shit Twitch support. If you are an affiliate, you get shit Twitch support. If you are a partner, you get premium Twitch support.
That's how the economy works.
Yeah. So
Can I
basically, LOLA
Can I say
213
something
is
weird
done.
that I never really have thought about that much or articulated before now? I just think of Riot Games and Twitch.television as the same company in my head. I know they're not. Intellectually, obviously they're different companies, but I just think of them in the exact same terms in my head.
Right.
Do you think
weird?
that Blake and Astros are the same person in your head as
No,
well?
because they're actually different. But
Okay.
to me, Twitch and Riot Game, they just everything
Because they're
they
all
do and
podcasters,
say.
They're just the same.
No, I think
Everything
he
they do and
means
say
the
just
sense
feels
that-
the same.
I think it means
Okay.
the sense that the customer service is and the balance is terrible. I don't
Buff affiliate support.
Well, no, I'll
It's
just
been
tell,
too many patches.
I'll tell
The
you
thing is,
this.
I never log into my Twitch every 2 weeks and have everything fucked up. So.
Well, no, I'm just gonna tell you this. It is so weird to me that they literally gave me 3 different responses indicating well, I could solve your problem if this. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, no, that's great. I do that thing. That
Right.
Yes, good. Next step. Let's go." "Well, you got to do this other thing too." I'm like, yeah, I totally do. This is great. We're gonna get this. He goes like, "Yeah, well, I can't do it." Like, wait, but why?
Hey, Blake, have you thought about doing different tiers of legal counsel?
Yeah,
If
I'm
you're
sorry,
a nobody,
you're a bronze level member. Get the
if you're a
fuck out of
nobody,
my
you won't
office.
look at anything before the trial. You'll just show up, burn the judge with a cigarette, and walk out. That's your lowest tier of legal counsel. And then the middle tier of legal counsel, it's yeah, you'll skim over it. Maybe you'll look. You'll make a half-hearted attempt to defend them, and they probably still go to jail. That's your second tier. And then your third tier is just basically what you do now, which is what you should already be doing for
Right.
everyone that uses your fucking service, Twitch. I think that's a good idea. Have you tried that?
It's actually, I think there's some merit, and I'm gonna do some readjustment when I go back to the office
Some
tomorrow.
restructuring, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to buy a lot of cigarettes. Like I quit smoking years ago, but maybe time to go back. Because I can't. There are a couple of judges that would.
Show up with like 3 buttons down. 3 buttons
Yeah,
down, and your sleeves are
I just
half
don't even
full.
wear a tie. I come in with like the Japanese bad guy shirt on, which is where you just walk in with like a dress shirt on that's unbuttoned to like here,
Yeah,
right? And then you
there you
just
go.
like no tie, no sense of propriety and formality. I refuse to abide by your system in wearing a tie. I just walk in kind of like I own the place, slap open the little swinging doors on the way to the bench. You can't
French
smoke in here, sir.
French kiss the bailiff on your way in.
No, slap him. Just slap him as I walk by. Put your gun away, jackass. You gotta burn this judge and get the fuck out of here. So yeah, no, there's merit. Like, and I'll just be like, hey, Twitch support, and they'll be like, oh, right, I understand. So we're gonna re-record that episode. It was too good to let it die.
We actually did prep work for it. So
Yeah, we did
why
prep work
not?
for it. I'm not throwing that shit away. That's just a waste. We could recycle the shit out of that. So, anywho, yeah.
We're done with angry ranting for the episode. That was it.
Oh yeah,
Somehow I don't believe that.
I do want to make an announcement. I fucked with the Twitch, and now we have an emote. One emote. Because, I did that. So,
Don't
if
say I
you,
did that like you're so proud of it.
I did do
It's like,
that, and I
yeah,
am proud of
I
it.
did that.
Yeah, I did. No, it took a while. I had to make 3 varying sized Lola podcast logos and shrink them down into a certain amount of pixels. So I did that. And now, if you write Lola Poe and then in full caps logo, it displays the logo in Twitch chat. And oh, by the way, I can't change that. It has to be Lola Poe first.
Have you tried? Why is it not like a picture of your face?
Oh,
is that
why
not
would I
our
do
emote?
that? Other
I don't
people
know.
stream. It's not just me, man. It's not about me.
Well,
It's
you're the
about
favorite podcaster,
yeah.
evidently.
Well,
So I guess it is all about you.
it depends on if you ask 58% of the people or not. You know, Uh,
I'm gonna maintain that if I had a more likable personality, I would have gotten a higher percentage of the votes.
I think
I'm
that's kind of
sticking-
a
I'm
They
given.
would have
sticking
liked
with
you more, yes.
Yeah, I think if you were more likable, people would like you more.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's how that works.
yeah, that's what I'm sticking to.
Yeah,
So
it's
that
either that or if you were more racially diverse.
That would probably help.
That would
We're
probably
really
help,
not
too.
playing well with the minority population.
No, you don't sit well with any minorities, I imagine.
No, not at all.
Look at that white guilt
Broadly hated.
having piece of crap. So anyway,
Like, what are,
huh?
I was gonna say, what are you, Blake?
What am I? I'm relatable because I'm
You
bald.
Puerto Rican? Like,
No, I'm bald.
oh, that's not a minority group.
Yeah, the people like feel more comfortable around me because I'm less threateningly white. You know, 'cause they look at me and they're like, "Look at that white guy, but he's kind of bald though. Feel kind of bad for him. I think we could get along."
Don't neo-Nazis
Some stats
shave their
about bald
heads?
people.
Yeah, but
I
no,
think
that's
that's
different.
accurate.
That's different. Skinheading and bald are 2 totally different things. Your grandpa is not a neo-Nazi because of what age did to him. I don't think anybody confuses those 2 things.
He's just a
Unless your
neo-Nazi
grandpa
because he
is
goes to
actually
rallies.
really racist, then
Nah, he's dead, so not being racist anymore. I can't speak
Sweet.
to when he was alive, but we're good.
All right. So, anyway, here we are. Episode 213 is dead. We will revive it later. It will be good. We're going to use that material, I promise. So be ready. Now, today we are going to talk about preseason, what they've done, Is it a good idea? Is it not? Now we've had some experience with it. We know what the pain points are, and we're going to discuss them and kind of round it out. We are going to talk about bounties again. And I know everybody may groan about that because it seems like we've talked about it a lot, but I think that now, like before, we were speculating on what it's going to be like and why it could be a problem and a lot of theoretics, and now we have like more actual experienced hard numbers and why those things like truly matter, right? And it merits some discussion on kind of what is a problem in silver, what's a problem in diamond, and is it the same experience or is it lesser or greater? So we're going to do that. We're going to have that discussion. We're going to discuss tower plating, and then Dark Harvest is one thing everybody's asking about. So I think we should touch that. Let's start with Dark Harvest, because I don't think there's a lot of meaningful discussion to have with Dark Harvest, right? We've actually got a lot of people inputting, writing, asking, what do you guys think about Dark Harvest? Blah, 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 right? And Michael, I think you put it really well. I think it was you that told me that it reminds you of Electrocute back when that was busted. Did you say that, or
Oh,
was that somebody else?
yeah, I think that was me. Yeah, but I mean, it was just that like when the damage rune does too much damage, it crowds out variety, and it's bad. Like, there's really not much to say about it. Like, if the easiest metric of whether or not something is busted in League of Legends is whether it does too much damage. Like, that is the number one pain point for players in League of Legends, is whether or not stuff is doing too much damage. Dark Harvest right now doing too much damage. I got like 30 stacks of it last game as Kindred, and I was just half shotting people. It was disgusting.
Yeah, I've gotten 30 stacks. I played a few Teemo games. It's not a problem to get 30 stacks on a shitty champion and like actually be able to do stuff with it. It's kind of stupid. So
Yeah.
Well, okay, so there is one thing I do want to address about it. I think that sums up Dark Harvest. Yes, it is busted. Yeah, it's too much damage, and yeah, it's kind of excessively dumb, right? Okay. That being said, I saw a Reddit post about this, and the Reddit post was Dark Harvest is ruining the game because it's crowding out uh, everything in favor of snowballing. It causes so much snowballing, right? And I read this post and I'm like, okay, I get where you're going with this, right? But this is my kind of standard complaint about whenever the community complains about something, they make it about something else that it's not, right? So if you have the complaint that Dark Harvest is bad because it's too powerful and thus crowds out all other damaged runes, and it's not fair if you want a damage rune but your champion cannot make as good of use of Dark Harvest as others, like that would be a fair criticism, is that it's not just a blanket damage rune. It fits super well on certain champions and not on others that may want damage. That would be a fair thing to say, right? But it causes snowballing to end the game. Like, of course it does, in the same sense that all damage causes snowballing. Because if somebody kills you, then you're dead and they can end the game, right? Like, it does not actually meaningfully contribute to snowballing. It is that they have more damage.
I wouldn't say it's entirely that it's not about snowballing, but I think it's mostly what you're saying. But the only thing is that, like, if you're playing it in a lane, every time that the other player procs it and kills you, they then have a better chance of proccing it again in the future, or the player that is ahead has a greater chance of proccing it again in the future. Whereas the more behind you fall, the less it feels like you have a keystone because you're less able to make use of it. You know what I mean? So like even if you have pressed the attack when you're behind,
Yeah.
you're still getting that damage amp if you get 3 hits. You know, like it. And like say if you're building like if you're building damage as an electric and you take electrocute, even if you're falling behind, your rune is still doing the same like proportion of damage, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's the
you're
only way
still
that I
able
think
to
that.
access the power of it.
Whereas with Dark Harvest, you're really not able to if you
Yeah,
fall behind,
because you can't
and
knock
the other person
somebody
has
low
it.
enough. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's I would say the way that it facilitates unhealthy snowballing, but I think that's like 30 to 35% of the issue, and then what you were talking about is like, and then it just being overtuned is like 70% of the
Yeah, I
issue.
think if it wasn't overtuned, wouldn't be a huge issue.
Well, I mean, okay, so I guess what my complaint is not that it's completely wrong, because that's not what I was trying to get at. Like, yes, I understand damage can cause snowballing, right?
Sure.
But that's like saying Dark Harvest is so bad because it makes towers die faster. Because if I die, I can't defend my tower. Okay, I mean that's true, sort of, but it's not really an accurate critique as to what the problem really is, and it doesn't address what the real issue is. It's just an overtuned damage rune, right?
Yes.
Like it has these echoing effects, but to
Here's yeah.
focus on the echo ignores the fact that there is a loud booming fucking noise that created that echo in the first place.
Let me just put something out there. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. You've played this game for like what, 4 or 5 years now, both of you, maybe longer.
Yes.
Have you guys ever seen Riot ever successfully balance an infinite stacking mechanic ever in their lives?
Vygar and Nasus?
No, he's not talking
Nasus
about.
is complete dog shit. I mean,
I don't.
I'll talk.
You're not talking about an infinitely scaling like move. You're talking
Not
about like an
specifically.
item, right?
I don't think those are particularly well balanced, but I'm more talking about items. Like every time they try it, it's bad and it's unhealthy for the game. And
Okay, so
like
Blood Razor.
no, is that it was called something else.
Devourer.
That was it. We were trying to remember that yesterday.
Feral Flare.
But okay, so let me and this was an episode of League of Legends Radio that I did years ago when Devourer first got removed. It was all about the fact that Riot actually
You should probably go back to the beginning and talk about what it was. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, sure. Devourer. Yeah. So if you guys haven't played or didn't play back then, this was a couple years ago.
Damn it, I was trying to burn you and you just didn't even pay attention. I said, go ahead and restate it all because I'm pretty sure nobody listened
smooth
to
transition.
And you're like, oh, yeah, okay, no problem. I'm like,
oh, because nobody listened. Oh, I see.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah, it was at the time. But you were like, you actually accepted it so quickly that I was like, he clearly didn't understand. You're like, oh, yeah, no problem. Totally, nobody listened to my shit. Let me explain it. I was like,
Anyway,
let's go ahead.
Before I was interrupted by lame jokes, basically the old Devourer, what it did was every time you killed a champion, killed a neutral monster, or killed a large neutral monster, so like the small wolves don't count, the small wraiths don't count, or killed an objective like Baron or Dragon, you'd gain a set amount of stacks. And it was like, I want to say like 2 per champion, 1 per large camp, and 5 per objective, maybe. Towers were not included, and it would only start the timer after you completed the item. And there had been many items before this that it worked like that. Like I think Wriggles did maybe at one point, or maybe I'm just thinking of Feral Flare. Basically, there'd been a lot of iterations of this, and they'd all been broken or unbalanced in some way or another, and so they all ended up getting removed. But what Riot did that was actually genius with the Devourer item is they capped the stacks at a certain limit. So once you got to 30, the item, and each stack, by the way, would give you like a set amount of on hit damage. So you get progressively a little bit stronger every time it's stacked. But then when you hit 30 stacks, which you could usually get about at the earliest, like 15 minutes into the game, more standard would be like
20,
19 or 20. Yeah, 18 was what I would say was a good timer. But once you get to that point, the item transformed and became a stronger version of the attack speed item that you already had. And the reason why that was so good was because the problem with all of the snowball infinite stacking jungle items before was that if you were behind, you would never get any stacks and you would never be relevant. But if you were ahead, you could just take your jungle, you could take the enemy's jungle, you could easily kill champions, you could easily force objectives, and it would just snowball out of control. and like unhealthy level of snowballing. Like even with a minuscule lead, you could turn it into something way more than it ever should have become. And the problem was, like League is a game where once you hit 6 items, you don't really get any stronger. Like only those 2 champions that I can really think of, maybe like Vladimir, a couple other champions off the top of my head, actually have true infinite scaling. Most of the time, once you hit 6 items, you're done. But the problem with the old Pharaoh Flare was you could keep getting stronger past 6 items if you kept farming jungle camps, because your damage was infinitely scaling, because your jungle stacks were infinitely scaling. So the longer the game went on, the stronger you became. So even though you're hitting 6 items before everyone else, you're still continuing to scale, which is normally like your hard cap. So for all these reasons, all of the on-hit attack speed jungle items for years were just failures, because they, not that they were weak, but because they couldn't be balanced properly. And so Riot actually made like one of the smartest moves they've ever made, and they put a cap on it. So once you hit 30 stacks, it transformed and it's done. There was no more infinite scaling, but the item still allowed AFK jungle, or not AFK farm, but like it allowed farm heavy junglers to play to their style without completely crippling the rest of their team.
Yeah, and they wanted more ganking, so they got rid of it.
Exactly. And they wanted more ganking, so they got rid of it, and they replaced it with the crappy item that is Blood Razor.
Yeah.
It is not a suitable. Like I said, how stupid it was when it came out. It's % health damage on an item that's meant to be built on assassins.
Yeah.
What the fuck does that make any sense at all? And like the problem was the problem with the old Devourer was that it had the passive from Ginsu's, where you'd get every other hit you get the
ghost
double effect, the ghost
Yeah.
attack. Yeah. That was what was making it super overtuned. It wasn't the stacking mechanic. It wasn't the on-hit damage. It was the ghost attack making it way too good on certain champions that made it unbalanced. And instead of just ditching that mechanic and giving it like an actual, like, this item gives 80% attack speed when it levels up and gives 30 magic damage on hit, or whatever you would make it. I don't know what the actual numbers would be. Instead of doing that and keeping the stacking mechanic that was super good for the game, in my opinion, because it allowed variety of playstyle, they just scrapped the whole thing, slapped a jungle item together, and then put the ghost mechanic, which was the broken part of it, on Ginsu's, which, by the way, still hasn't been successfully balanced in 2 years, so it's just a shit show. But what was
League
my
of
point with
Legends
all this?
history for you boys.
Yeah, what was my fucking point with all that? Oh, infinitely stacking. It doesn't work. It's never balanced.
Okay, there we go.
Never been
And I
balanced.
will say this: like the problem with the infinite stackers is that either it takes too long and you never get there, or you're never relevant, or
Exactly.
if you do get there, the game is
You
so
keep
god
getting
awful
there.
painful
Yeah.
to play against you that it's no fun for anybody in the game but you.
Right.
Right? And to that end, I will say Viger is that.
Yeah.
Like,
I hate that
if
champion.
you get there with Viger, you kill everybody in like nothing. You know, like anybody who's within range of you just dies. So it's not fun for them. It's super fun for you, but I mean, should the game ever be like that? Probably not. You know, so. By the way, you were talking about ultimate or limitless stackers, and I thought of a few more. Thresh, Scion, Shyvana. Shit, I had another one in my head too. That
Cho'Gath.
Cho'Gath, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Cho'Gath. Those are your infinite scalers that I could think of.
Yeah, there's a few.
I don't know. I think Cho'Gath's pretty balanced with that, honestly. Like, I don't know.
I think that Cho'Gath's playstyle of like build 1,000,000 health and then buy stone plate and then flash R and one shot somebody with 2,000 true damage. I think that's a little iffy, but I mean, other than that.
Yeah, but that was never intended anyway. They just liked it, so they kept
TZ
it.
Affinity threw out Kindred as another.
Oh yeah, true. Kindred as well. And now she's got double infinite stacking with Dark Harvest, which I played last game, and it was fucking dumb because I inted early and then just popped off.
I don't know. I mean, I think that Dark Harvest can probably be balanced, but
it can be balanced to an acceptable level. It's never going to be balanced.
Right. Well, I mean, anytime there's an infinite stacker, it's going to go crazy eventually. But that's kind of the whole point, is that you build something that, like Gathering Storm. You know, if the game goes 100 minutes, then you got your value for sure out of that mess, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same thing with any kind of infinite
I
stacker.
take it every time. I love
But-
infinitely stacking stuff. It's
but I
so
mean-
great.
But I mean, all that said, like, yeah, it's gonna be very difficult to balance that. I think it is doable with Dark Harvest, but I don't think it's in a state where it's at now. The good news is I actually think Riot will fix Dark Harvest because I don't that Riot fixes things
They
like
will
that.
nerf it. They won't fix it.
Okay,
They
they'll
will
nerf it. Okay,
it.
that's fair. They'll nerf it. But I mean, they are actually really good about nerfing things like that. Like one room's
Yes.
too strong, they'll jump on that next patch. It'll be taken care of. Or
Yes,
at least
for the most
nerf
part,
to
I
a point
agree.
where it won't be painful anymore. And then maybe
Right.
2 or 3 patches later, they'll bump it a little bit back up or do something, whatever. Where I am concerned, and here's my segue, they don't tend to go back on changes that they have considered to be an identity change with the game.
Yes.
Right? Like if they do something or like, and this is the way the game's going to be played now,
Because
they
it'll be
stick
better.
with that
It'll be more
shit.
fun.
They stick with that shit forever. And thus, we're back to bounties for a little while, right? Riot has put bounties in the crosshair of what's going to define this new season, right? Like, it's a springboard mechanic. It was one of like 3 addressed things that they talked about being special of this season, right? And that is why I'm real concerned about the state of bounties and about that it's not going to be fixed. Like, I don't think it's going to be lowered to an acceptable amount. Now, some preconceived criteria that we have covered on past shows that I want to get out of the way before we truly discuss bounties, right? These are just givens to the argument. And feel free to interrupt me if you guys disagree, okay? Bounties are intended to be a snowball mechanic. Or not a snowball, I mean a rubber band mechanic. They're intended to be a rubber band mechanic. Opposite of snowball, in fact. But intended to be a rubber band mechanic. Bounties range in value from 450 gold to 1,000. They can carry over.
Which, for reference, that's a normal kill is worth 300 gold, for reference. And the bounties are replace that 300 gold with the new value.
Okay. That bounties are redeemed by whoever gets the kill.
Solely.
Solely to that person.
The bounty does. You get assist gold, but it's like
you
a
get
150.
assist gold, but you don't get
Doesn't
assist gold based on the bounty. You get assist
Right.
gold based on a normal kill.
Yes.
Okay. And then the bounties scaling off CS makes sense if you're going to do bounties based on relative strength. Logically, it makes sense to include CS gold in that. Okay. Before I go any further on that last topic, I want to address what I think the problem is with including CS gold. It makes bounties grow too fast.
The
Right?
game gets flooded with gold too quickly. Too much resources go around.
Yeah, like
It's
you
a
get
land of
higher
plenty.
bounties way too fast, including CS gold. CS gold makes sense, is what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying the logic behind if you're going to have bounties at all, it makes perfect sense to include CS gold with that because that's part of addressing you are this much stronger than everybody else. Right?
Mhm.
So that makes sense because that's a major source of gold income. But they didn't reduce kill bounties and then add CS gold to it. They just added CS gold and increased bounties. Right? So what you get now is hugely, massively fast, out of control bounties that can springboard. It's like, it's not even a boost. It's like a rocket powered trampoline. Right? Like Wile E. Coyote shit.
So so are the rockets attached to the trampoline, or are the rockets attached to the boots of the wearer?
It depends on how you're going to catch that Roadrunner, is what I'm getting at. Right? Like, if you're going to paint a hole in the wall and then you're going to try to get the Roadrunner to smash into the painting, maybe rocket-powered boots would be the way to go, and a trampoline will give you a nice boost to start.
Like, kids these days don't watch Roadrunner and Coyote. They're too busy watching Paw Patrol.
And that's why we have too many kids with anxiety disorders. But anyway, so here's the thing. Like, if you can have a 1,000 kill bounty, like, okay, let's say that before this you went 4-0, right? Like, congratulations, you killed the opponent 4 times, right? So you're going to get like 300 gold for the first kill, 250 gold for the second kill. And these are, I haven't looked at the actual gold values.
I think it's 300 definitely for the first 2 kills, at least.
Okay, so 300, 300, 250, 200. Right? I mean, that's pretty roughly accurate.
Yeah.
Okay.
That might be off by like 100 or so, just so you guys.
So you're gonna get 1,000.
Yeah.
You get 1,050 in total gold, right? Your bounty is gonna be around. It'll be 450 for 2 kills, 600 for 3, 700 for 4.
Plus, if you are up CS,
I'm saying without CS.
Oh, sure.
You're at 700 gold bounty, right? You have 1,000 gold in kill lead, and your give back is 700 if you die. So for beating the other person 4 times, if you get beat, you are 1 kill ahead. That makes no sense from just a perspective of
okay. That's where I think I agree.
Okay, why is that okay?
Okay, so if you are 4 kills ahead, it should be very difficult to kill you. And like if you are going in and dying, and then you are like you put yourself in a position you shouldn't be in at all. Like you should be able to take on what you're getting into. You should be careful with your life. Like that's what League is trying to get you to do now, is to value that instead of just throwing things away.
No, I mean, okay, I get that point of view, but that's like saying that you have a super strong arm, right? And so you're going to go win some arm wrestling, right? But because you are so strong, you better stop arm wrestling after a while because you could lose and hurt yourself.
I mean, I think you still have to like take care of yourself. You can't just like completely forget a workout routine that doesn't take into account what your muscles can handle. Like there has to be responsibility with the lead that you get.
Right. Okay. I mean, I'm not saying there's ever a point at which you should just be reckless, right? But what I am saying is the way in which you generate leads in League of Legends is you get what starts off to be a small lead, and then you press that advantage by playing stronger than the other person.
Yeah, right? I think the bounty system is just saying you are playing reckless if you're 4 kills ahead of someone and then you die to them.
But okay, so let me put a hypothetical. You're playing top lane. You're 4-0. You've killed their jungler once and their top laner 3 times. So their top laner's already worth less gold. They're worth like 200 to 250 at this point. Their mid laner roams top while your mid laner's at base. You double kill them, and then you die. You have given up more gold than both of those kills are worth because you died in a 1v2 while drawing pressure top lane. Like, you should never, like, to me, just the concept that 2 kills would be worth less than 1. Trade.
Like, I don't know. I think you should have been more careful. Like, you should have decided, I'm going to die here.
Why?
I'm worth bounty.
But I mean, here's the question is, how is that good for the game? If I am strong and I should be pressing my advantage, why should I be encouraged to not fight?
Let me say Zilla's correct. You shouldn't fight because you could die and give up the bounty. Yeah, it's the correct play in the current meta to not fight with how big the bounties are. It is not, I don't think, the correct decision from a gameplay design perspective because it encourages safe play, which is not nearly as enjoyable, I think, for the majority of players to just sit back. I mean, some people are freaks, Zill, and they just like to farm minions all game. But we're counting the 99% here of people who want to fight champions in League of Legends. This disincentivizes you from fighting champions in League of Legends.
I think it's the difference between like a console game like Halo or Call of Duty, where everyone is just killing each other all the time, and League of Legends, which is the strategy game that you have like objectives based.
Well, that's the thing.
But the thing is, Call of Duty is so campy because you have kill streaks. You're more incentivized to stay alive in Call of Duty than you are to push out and get kills. Because if you push out and get 3 kills in a row, you're gonna die. Probably. You get shot in the back by someone when you're
my experience in Call of Duty is you just die randomly all the time.
Okay, we're saying like in the
Am I shooting guys? I can see like Zill just spinning in a circle in Call of Duty.
I'm an old man when it comes to shooters. I'm sorry. Yeah,
I'm not good at them either. But like the thing, like if you look at like Call of Duty, the problem is like it's way better to get 1 kill like per minute than to get like 2 kills per minute, but also 1 death per minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's because of the kill streak system. It incentivizes a very campy play style because why rush out and risk death when you can just sit back in your corner and have a much higher chance of getting a lower amount of kills rather than having like a medium chance of getting a high amount of kills.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
That was honestly that was the difference between Halo and Call of Duty to me, was that Halo was the one that you would camp, and Call of Duty is the one where you have to run around, run and gun. But that aside, basically, I think that playing safe with Halo is like that element of strategy that's added into it is better for a strategy game rather than just like running and gunning with everyone.
So, in any game where contact with other players is disincentivized, the game gets stale and repetitive.
Not contact though; it's like dying.
But the only way to die is to have contact with other players.
That's what. Yeah. So you're not gonna die to minions and somehow give up a bounty, right? Like that's my point. So let's say you have 1,000 gold bounty, right? Which is not hard to do. Like if you're 4-0, you have 700 gold bounty. If you have
with
good
CS lead,
you have 1,000. So at this point, you're 4-0. Normally, before the bounty system was a problem, I would be pushing that person, trying to get the wave in, trying to deny them CS, zoning them off, or setting them up for a dive and trying to kill them, smash the tower, move on to other lanes, and extend my lead elsewhere on the map. Like, that's how you take over a game. That's how you snowball a game. And
you might make a dive play that has a 75% chance of working. And because the bounty you'd give up was a little bit more manageable at the time, it was worth it to make the 75% play to potentially extend a huge lead for your team by getting a turret and then being able to rotate to dragon or whatever it is.
Right.
But
so now on the other end, I have to be so concerned that a jungler might be there. And keep in mind, you don't have the tools that you used to have to be able to turn a gold lead into perfect vision. As a top laner, you don't have those tools. Like I can't go buy green wards and just throw them down in the jungle and know where the jungler is so I know if I'm gank safe or not, right? So everything I do has to be judged through the lens of I'm worth 3 1/3 kills right now.
Even if I trade 2 for 1.
I'm sorry. I'm actually worth more than 3 1/3
It's
kills.
Basically 4 kills because of assist gold.
Well, not only that, but diminishing returns on kills. I'm worth 3 kills of a guy who's not died.
Yeah.
Right? So that sucks. So I'm worth 3 1/3 kills plus assist gold, so it's like 4 kills of a. I
feel like when you guys are weighing team gold, you've got it on this like perfectly balanced scales, though. It's like this 50 or 20k gold on one team equals 20k gold on another team, and that's not necessarily the case with bounties and with assist gold. Like people who get the kills are not necessarily always the ones who need them. This is the way.
But that's my other problem is you're turning a rubber band mechanic more often into a snowball mechanic. Because what bounties are supposed to be is if I'm behind and I kill the guy who's got 4 kills and I have 0 kills, then I deserve a comeback win. Hooray! But in reality, it's not me, the 0-4, that's probably going to get the kill. It's the fed Lee Sin that's going to gank my lane, who's 5-0, and now he's going to be 6-0, and he's going to get
Yeah.
1,000 gold, right? So the bigger problem player becomes an even larger problem player, right? So it doesn't actually accomplish its stated purpose, or at least the odds that it accomplishes its stated purpose are very low.
I think in that specific example, yes, but there's like a
Well,
pretty diverse like set of examples we can have people get kills on. Your support can get the kill, for instance.
Well, yeah,
So
and
let's
that's
talk about
bad
that.
too.
That's awful too. Because, like, if I'm support, most likely I don't want gold. It's why I don't CS.
It's unfortunate for you in that game. I don't necessarily see it as a balance problem, though.
Yes, it is. Because it's
But it
because
doesn't-
the
but is it-
bounty is arbitrary is the problem. Because if
It's
it
not
lands
entirely
on me,
arbitrary. It's okay.
well, like, here's the difference. If it is,
Who
if
gets the
I
kill
have
is
to
arbitrary.
if I have to cast ignite to secure a kill on, let's say, a fled Vlad or something, right? So I'm casting ignite to make sure that that dude dies,
Because
and
he will
then
heal and
because
kill
he
your
will
whole
heal
team if
and
he
kill the whole
doesn't.
team if I don't, and I happen to get the last tick of his health, you put 1,000 gold on your support. That's supposed to be meant to bring your team back in the game and feed your carries back into it, but instead it goes to me, who is literally the most useless person to put gold on from a strategy standpoint, right?
Like I personally have always hated last hit mechanics in League of Legends. Like Draven's passive, not a fan, never been a fan, because I just don't like last hit mechanics in League of Legends, because I feel like when you're playing around a specific last hit, you're no longer playing to just gain advantages and win the game, you know? Like you have to, it becomes more important. Like, for example, for a Draven who's got like a bunch of kills, it becomes more important for the Draven to get the kill and the last hit than it is for somebody to die. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter if you kill them in a 2v2 if your Draven with 200 stacks doesn't cash in, because he's getting nothing off of that. And the longer that he can't get a kill, the worse it becomes. It's the same thing with bounty. It's a last hit mechanic. Like, if your Vayne gets the last hit on Fed Tryndamere, that's really good for your team. If your Leona gets the last hit on Fed Tryndamere, your team is in your team goes from a 80% chance of losing to a 77% chance of losing, because that extra Giants belt on Leona is not going to win you the game. You know,
Right.
that's another problem that I have, is that like, even if the bounty killed were distributed evenly, because like League of Legends is all about, in its own way, it's all about funneling resources are almost more efficient, almost always more efficient when they can be consolidated onto a single member. So if you say that your team is being
Well,
given the
I mean,
option
that
of,
was the heart of the gold funneling strat that took
Exactly.
over the LCS for like a month or two.
Right.
yeah, well, yeah, let's look at it. Let's look at an example as, like, say that your team is being handed 5,000 gold at the beginning of the game. The equitable way to distribute it is 1,000 each player. 1,000 to Tryndamere, 1,000 to Fizz, 1,000 to Lee Sin, 1,000 to Vayne, 1,000 to Leona. That is the most equal way to distribute that 5,000 gold. It is also the worst way to distribute that 5,000 gold, because you could also do 1,250 to Tryndamere, 1,250 to Fizz, 1,250 to Vayne, and 1,250 to Lee Sin. That's better than the other way. But the absolute best way to win the game is to put 5,000 of it on Vayne, because Vayne will now be two and a half items, or an item and a half at minute 1, and have a much higher chance of taking over the game if the rest of her team can just stay alive, because you put that gold onto one specific person. They can now run away with the game. It's the same thing with the bounties.
Mm.
If you had 1,000 gold bounty and it accounted for like assist gold, so let's say they switch the lowest bounty you get to 500, and it's all encompassing with assist gold and everything, or whatever, or they change the lowest bounty to like 600, and then both players get 300 gold for killing the bounty or something. That would be a more equitable way, and it would also be a more manageable way, because that rewards you for getting a solo kill in a losing lane, but it also rewards you less for getting a kill where you just gangbang the enemy player, because getting that 1,000 gold when you're in a losing lane is completely like the best, like the most efficient comeback path for you to get is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'll just put it this way.
Yeah.
The bounties are so large right now and so quickly large, right? And that's the
Yes.
problem is they're so quickly large that redeeming the bounty is often the most important thing on the map.
I will agree with you there. I think bounties are overtuned. I think I said that before.
Well, I mean, like the overtunedness of it, that is huge. Like that is largely what is causing these problems, right? And
Right.
like I said, I can tolerate or palate some bounties if they're not game breaking.
me and Blake both are of the opinion that we don't prefer bounties to be in the game, but they were manageable enough before that it didn't feel like it was actually like significantly impacting decision making at all phases of the game by their existence.
Now it is. Yeah, I agree with
Yes.
And so let me also talk a little bit about the myth of bounties and like what I hear a lot of low elo players saying is like, oh, well, you can plan for it. You can have your team can say, oh, we're going to go after this guy now and get that kill on this guy. And we're going to blah, blah, blah. And it's strategy now. The problem is that doesn't exist in Silver. It doesn't. Like, nobody's even thinking about bounties. Nobody knows about bounties. Everybody dies so much that the bounties don't actually generally get that large. And people make no plans for it because people don't even make plans over objectives. So they're definitely not making plans over bounties.
I think higher elo players are putting 1,000 gold to better use than lower.
Absolutely.
Elo players. So yeah, like I think when this affects you guys more than it affects me, and it affects me more than it does even lower elo players. So yeah, no contest there.
And I mean, I don't mean that in an insulting way. I'm just saying like there are a lot of things that Silver players focus on and pay attention to, and that is not one of those things. At least that's never been my experience with Silver, right? And playing on my Smurf account or playing with other Silvers, it doesn't happen. So that's a myth. And because the bounties just become random gold distributions, it doesn't really change a whole lot in Silver because it's literally just like I walk into a bush. I mean, you could make a mechanic that says I walk into a random bush and there may be a stack of gold in it, right? And that would not meaningfully impact Silver, but it would absolutely impact Diamond and Master Tier play.
If people face check bushes more, that'd be fun.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
Garen meta.
if you did something like that, you can believe that it would.
It's a gold plant. It randomly grows in bushes.
Yeah, well, I'm saying if you did that,
You think
like,
this stuff grows on trees?
well, like, nice, nice. So I mean, no, like, let's say that if you popped a blast plant or a vision cone or whatever, 300 gold may just drop, right? Okay. How do you think
Kleptomancy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So,
Dog shit rune.
yeah, like
Jesus.
kleptoplancy.
Idiots.
I don't know.
The only reason
you
that
did
stayed in the
something
game was because it was so overtuned and so successful as a result.
Because Riot is just like, oh, it's so unique. Oh, it's so cool. I love it so much. Oh, kleptomancy. And then that's why it stayed in the game, because they really liked it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, like I said, to me, there's like not a lot of merit to a system that doesn't truly accomplish its stated goals. It has arbitrary results that are not completely controllable. So you can't truly plan on whose shit goes on in a team fight. Because the reality is, if you sometimes not doing that auto attack to take somebody off the board results in a lost team fight.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like trying to throw off a kill, particularly at the beginning of a team fight, results in a lost team fight. Because if that person doesn't die, then they're going to contribute a hell of a lot more damage to that team fight. And sometimes that's just what it takes to tip the scales. Often it is. So
don't die, kids.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You can't push that on. And the other problem that I've got with this is it's fine to say don't die, right? But there are times at which, particularly as a support player, that your death is a strategic thing that you need to be able to put into play. It is not always bad to die.
I agree with you.
Right? The problem with bounties is now it is. Right? I lose the agency to be able to choose whether or not I can trade my life
And-
to make a play happen.
I mean,
And top laners lose the agency to go 2-for-1, which is absolutely a core part of that lane if you're playing bruisers or fighter type champions. Because if you drawing their jungler up there and trading 2-for-1 should always be good. But if you have 1,000 gold bounty, 1,000 plus 150 assist gold is basically the equivalent of 4 kills, whereas you're only getting 300 gold.
Yeah.
Assuming they don't have
Well,
bounties.
like, okay, so here's a very, like, in a recorded game that we posted or that I streamed, right? I was watching this game, I was coaching it, and, or reviewing it, I don't know. Was it shoutcasting or coaching, I don't remember, but I pulled up the gold difference, and there was a 6-0 top laner and a 1-4 mid laner, right? And the 1-4 mid laner went up and assisted in a 3-man dive on the top laner and killed them. And they got so much gold from the bounty that they were now within 200 gold of the guy who was literally 6-0, and they were 1-4. So now at 2-4, they are the equivalent of somebody who was 6-1. Why?
sounds like you shouldn't have dived him.
Well,
Just
no,
don't
you
get
should.
dove wall.
No, I mean you should have. Don't
Okay.
get dove is the answer, I guess. So if I'm way ahead, it forces me into a position where I can't continue my advantage. And the problem that you have with that is, let's say you do build up.
That's just not true, though. You can. You just have
No,
to be
you can't.
careful.
You know,
There
there's
are
no
times
amount
you
of
gotta-
being careful
my God.
that you can
There are
do.
points in this game where you cannot avoid death without being psychic or having a third eye. Like,
Sure, but like, just have the odds in your favor so much so that if you do die, better things come of it than not.
You can't do that if you have 1,000 gold in your pocket.
Yes, you can.
you can't, but you can't set up favorable positioning if you have 1,000 gold bounty because you can't play aggressively at all. So
Mhm.
you can't put yourself in situations where you're going to benefit from your death. You know what I mean?
And
Like,
so here's the thing. Before, you would push that lead to try to make it even bigger. You'd put a lot of pressure, which opens you up to a gank, which means that you could get turned around on if you overextend your push, right? Now, you can't really do that, so you're going to get this lead that you've built up early, and it's going to fade. Because if you're ahead by 2K and you have 4K and they have 2, you are huge, right? But if you have 10K and they have 8, that is the same gold lead at a point in the game at which it's way less meaningful. And the problem is you lose the ability to continue to spread your lead from the other person.
especially because champions that accrue bounties should more often than not be champions that are like lane bullies, and champions who get bullied are more often than not scaling champions. So like Draven should always pretty much beat Vayne in a lane, and maybe the Vayne plays really well and doesn't die, and the Draven still gets a bounty from CS. He should be able to deny CS and probably kill his lane opponent. But the problem is, if it gets to a point where it's too costly for him to like die trading his life, him at 5 items is probably weaker than Vayne at 4 items potentially. It would depend on what they have.
Well, like,
but
okay, so
Sure.
on the
I don't
back
feel
of
like I can
that-
provide a counterpoint without this continuing on ad infinitum. So
Okay, so well, I mean, on the back of what he is saying, because there is one thing that we have
Sure.
not yet talked about, and that's the impact on scaling champions and lane bullies, right? So in the present, a lane bully has win conditions, and those win conditions are I beat the piss out of whoever I am up against, and I put them so behind with my sheer presence that I can control the game from early to mid and end the game before the point at which they become relevant or they can catch up. With bounties in the game, you can actually lose that win condition even if you succeed. And scalers who had one win condition, which is make it to late game, don't get too far behind, now have 2 win conditions. And that's make it to late game, don't get too far behind, or redeem a bounty. Actually, they have 3. Or turn around the early game and take advantage of misplays. right? So
Well,
one
that third one is very reasonable. So is the first one. Like those should absolutely be
part
like
of the game, yeah.
if you beat Draven as Vayne, you absolutely should be able to beat him at all phases of the game because you won at the point where it was hardest for you to win. Like
Right.
we all agree that should happen if you
Yes.
win early game as Vayne.
Absolutely. If you win early game as Vayne or Kog'Maw or any of these champions, then
Assuming the
you've
champion's
done
not just
something that you're not supposed to be able to do. And
by
that's
outplaying
fine.
your opponent, presumably.
Yeah, that's fine. Run with it. Right? Like you did something great. And so you should succeed for that. You're going to scale to the end game anyway. Whether or not you just remain relevant, you win. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you can jump that and win by cashing in a bounty. And the way those characters are tuned, even if they are behind, it is likely that they will be able to cash in a bounty.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I mean by that? Like, if Vayne gets the silver bolt procs, it doesn't matter if she has like no AD. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Like, even if you're weak, you can still silver bolt someone to death and get a bounty by luck, right? Or if you're Kog'Maw, you can still do percent health vomit and get a bounty, or drop a spittle bomb on their head, right? Like you get a bounty on that, and if you do, you now have a totally additional win condition that creates a problem. Also, snowball champions. Like any champion that runs away with gold now has an additional way to go Super Saiyan in the middle of a game. Right? Like we were playing a game where it was a Riven and a Yasuo, and what would happen is the Riven would get a whole bunch of bounties, the Yasuo would get a whole bunch of bounties. One would kill the other one, and then they would go off, kill the whole team, and then die to the other, and then it would go the exact opposite direction. And it just created this like smash fest of the two people at the top, and the rest of us became irrelevant. Except
Yeah.
me, whose whole goal was like, I've got to keep Yasuo alive, right? And that was one of the first games that I played with the bounty system in place, and I was like, God damn it, this is rough, because like I said, it doesn't prevent snowball. It's not a rubber band mechanic. I don't get to come back. The big get bigger to a certain degree,
In
but
certain
it's not in
situations.
certain situations. And I would actually be okay with that because that's kind of my thing is the big get bigger, right? Like I like that. I like the idea of I'm good. I'm gonna snowball on the other guy. I'm gonna get ahead. I'm gonna get huge. The problem is there's no guarantee that that's actually how it's gonna happen. It could go on to somebody useless. It could go on to the big person. It's arbitrary.
Yep.
And that's the whole system is designed poorly as a rubber band mechanic. I think you can have rubber band mechanics. This is not the way to go. And even if it is the way to go, your rubber band is more like a bungee cord right now as it exists. Okay. That's probably enough. And like I said, I also think that this affects higher elos more than lower elos. And you know, that's so if you're a lower elo, you may not have a problem with it because it's not as impactful for you. And that's cool. I'm not saying you're a bad player, that nobody can get 1,000 kill gold in a low elo game. What I am saying is it just is less of a nut punch in low elo. So,
Yes.
okay. That being said, let's move on to towers because I think that was the other major change that this preseason has covered. Oh, and for the record, these last two things that we've talked about, which are bounties and towers, I am concerned about both of them because I don't believe Riot will ever meaningfully change them. I think we're going to be pretty much stuck with this for at least half a season in some iteration, right? Whether it's this painful, I think they'll probably address some of the like super harsh pain points, but I don't ever think they're going to knock it down to a
That
reasonable
Riot
level.
only changes numbers. They never change. It takes them way too long.
They don't change direction. They change
Yes.
magnitude.
Yes, and sometimes the direction is just shitty, but they don't do anything about it. So
So instead of driving the car at 200 miles an hour off the cliff, they slow down to 20 and go off the cliff. Right? And that's
yes.
I don't know why that is, but that is kind of something that you see. And then at the end of next season,
bounties are just making the game go off the cliff. Oh my god.
well, no, I mean I'm talking about this is seasons of problems. Like they'll pick one or two good things, right? It's like okay, so here's one. Elemental dragons. I think that was a good change.
Excellent change.
Good change. Jungle plants. I thought that was stupid at first. I think that's a good change. I take it back. Good job, Riot. Right? Changing Kog'Maw to break the attack speed sound barrier? Shitty change. Right? I mean, objectively, that was fucking stupid. Right? And it's not, it's not balanceable because if he gets to that state, the game's over. And if he doesn't, he sucks.
And he also has double synergy with every on-hit item, so you can't make him balanced without fucking with all his itemization too. Like, how do you balance Bork on a champion that can attack 4 times per second? You can't.
Yeah,
How many games of League of Legends did that ruin for you guys?
Pretty much everyone
Enough?
had Kog'Maw in it. So,
Yeah.
but I mean,
Enough?
but no, let's say, but that was a problem, right? And Riot's like, yeah, that was the direction we chose to go with this rework. That's what we're gonna do. And then like a season and a half later, they're like, man, we can't balance this. We're just gonna have to go back to the old kit. And that was fine. The old kit's fine. So okay, we're right back there. Same thing with LeBlanc. LeBlanc was a problem for how long? And they're like, oh yeah, we're going to change her because we don't like how this interaction is. And we want to make it to where you have to wait a little while. And we're going to do all this other shit with her. And then they reverted it because they're like, yeah, this is just as bad or worse and it's less fun to play. So back to the old way. A season later, or season and a half. Wasn't it a season and a half? I want to say
Probably,
it was
because
a season and a half.
it was mid-season 6, right?
Yeah, I thought so. It was the
And then they
Assassin
reverted
rework.
it season 8?
Yeah.
So
season and a half. So I mean, yeah, like the direction is still the same and it's still stupid on certain changes, and they just kind of slow the pace. And
At least
like,
gold funneling is back in the game now.
Yeah, well, okay. That was like stated goals aren't followed, and that's an issue, right? But regardless, this is why I'm concerned about bounties, is because I think they'll go, okay, well maybe bounties at 1,000 was bad, so we're gonna drop it down to 900. Okay, and then that's what I think will probably end up happening is they're gonna be like, but they're gonna phrase it in kind of a weird way, like CS was causing bounties to get out of control too quickly, so we reduce bounties to 900. And you're gonna go, wait, what? Like that's still stupid high. Really?
That's
and
still 3 kills instead of 3.3 kills.
Yeah, and then by the end of the preseason, they're gonna be like, we found bounties had too much influence over the game in the last 6 months. So
People
now...
were going for bounties instead of going for other objectives such as turrets and dragons.
Yeah, that will be the patch note. And then it's like, so we're gonna lower bounties down to a more reasonable level, and then they're gonna be back to what they were before.
Great.
Well, no, but for a whole season that's gonna suck, right? But
I think it's manageable, but yeah.
But I mean, that being said, you go.
They'll make it manageable. It'll still be a bad system, but it'll be manageable, and then they'll fuck something else.
Not every minigame in League of Legends is great. There's too many of them to make perfect for you. I know.
No, I had a lot of fun pressing left clicking a champion portrait last game as Kindred. I thought that was interactive as fuck, dude. What a solid minigame.
So okay, but
True perfection.
that being said, so that is something that I'm worried about both for bounties and for towers, right? The tower change, there's good and bad here.
Yes.
Universally, I think everybody loves the tower plates, right? Is that we all agree on that, or
To
I
me,
think
it's like the
there's-
plants change. Like it doesn't. It's just interesting. It doesn't like give
Yeah.
me a lot to work with.
I think there are a few issues with it. Like because a major problem that I see is like, say that your mid lane, especially I think it impacts mid lane pretty heavily because say that your mid lane, you're
Yes.
Katarina versus Jace, and then Jace is pushing you in obviously because it's Jace, and then he gets your turret down to like 4,200 health, and then you push all the way in against him. He recalls, and then you decide to roam bot lane, and you pick up a kill on their AD. That's 300 gold in your pocket. But during that time, Jace has pushed in mid lane and gotten 2 of your turret plates, which is 320 gold in his
Right.
pocket.
But hopefully,
in
bot
addition,
lane got some plates as well.
hopefully so, but you can't guarantee it because what if the lane was pushed all the way in when you roamed on it with like 20 minions? There's no way you're going to push it fast enough before the enemy
With
AD
3 of you,
spawns.
yeah.
Well, maybe one of your people is dead, like your
Okay,
AD
so
died
2 of you
before the play
versus
or something.
Jace.
Well, no, because Jace is still mid lane. He's still pushing mid lane. You have to go mid before he takes out more of your plates, and you've got a big minion wave that you have to deal with bot lane first.
Okay, all
So,
right, I'll stop arguing.
and
Yeah.
in this
no,
scenario,
I'm
we're
gonna keep
assuming.
changing the plan. No.
In this scenario,
No.
we're assuming that Jace gets 2 plates and you get 1 kill. That's just the assumption we're making in this
Yeah.
in this
Zill,
play.
do you see those goalposts? We'll move them right over there.
That's all I've been hearing.
Nope,
What is this?
wrong football field entirely, Zill. We're in the neighboring county. See, so the goalposts are actually.
I'm
I
operating with
can see
certain
that, but,
assumptions, and you guys just keep like you're focused on the nitty gritty of this imaginary scene that I'm concocting in my head as I talk.
Right.
and you're like,
Actually,
"Come
we're playing
back down to,
basketball.
Fuck you. But you know what I mean? Like him for making the completely unskilled play of staying mid lane and
that
pushing.
is not an unskilled play. What the fuck?
It isn't. There's no
It is
decision making.
It is decision making. It's exactly that. It's deciding when to back and when to arrive and when to push and balancing out playing a character that has better wave clear and can push faster versus one that can't.
I just think that I think that the plates are fine. I just think the amount of gold they give is a bit over.
Fair. It's over.
That's
because I actually think it's a bit undertuned for bot lane.
It feels bad when you have to split it. It's overtuned on solo lanes.
That's
it's
true.
undertuned on duo lanes.
Because we
yeah.
get
Solo
80.
lanes is
I get
overtuned.
80 gold for busting a plate.
That's
and
You
I'm
get a
like,
cannon minion. You get a cannon minion and you like it.
"Woo!
That's
A
what you get,
cannon
bot
minion?
laner.
Hooray! You
For
know, like,
a
I don't
plate,
know.
I mean, plates are pretty easy to kill, especially with 2
That's-
people there.
You can buy an entire control ward with 5 gold left over, you supporting ass bitch. What are you complaining
I
about?
got
What else did
5
you need?
gold burning in my pocket. Like, come on, what the fuck? You could buy 2 Cokes and a piece of gum. Back in my day, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like 3 cents for a Tootsie Roll. So I don't know, man. Like, it just feels like I'm getting a very small thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, I got an extra cannon minion. worth
Unless they
gold.
change it to also be a last hit mechanic, then
I
I
don't
think it's
want
just
that,
gonna
though.
be. Which I don't want that either, but I think that's just how it's gonna be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and
Because
to be
you can't make it-
fair,
yeah.
to be fair, that would actually be a last hit mechanic I wouldn't so much mind because
Yeah, I'd be like okay with it.
because it doesn't fight back as much. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like a person that I have to kill them before they kill me. A tower is
Yeah.
gonna shoot minions, and I'm gonna, if I want the ADC to get the goal, I'll just back off, and he can hit the last shot, and that's fine, right?
So what if you miss? What if you miss last hitting the plate? Like what happens?
Well,
then?
like miss last hitting the turret, like you.
Like, you
click
mean the minion hits it?
or-
Yeah,
The minion hits it, it splits gold, same as before, or same as now.
All right.
But I think that that's the only way that you could theoretically make it feel better for bot laners,
Mhm.
while still not making it completely broken on solo laners. I think that's just the nature of it. But I mean, I don't know. I think it incentivizes you to play in your lane a little bit more than I'd like right now. I think that roaming is de-incentivized when it's just you're gonna literally get more gold for staying in your lane, not like different gold income from like different sources, you're just literally going to get more gold for doing the simplest play. Like Katarina had to go and interact with champions and fight people, and all Jace did was hit minions. It was the smart move for him to hit minions, but it was also the easiest move for him to hit minions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a huge. I think it's definitely one of my.
I feel like
It's a
Roaming's
very
always
minor
been risky, and now it's just more so. And,
yeah, I think it's a minor gripe for me. I think it's fine. I just would like to see it go down to like 140 gold per plate or something.
But I think since the items got reworked for mages, that out pushing your opponent mid lane has been kind of the meta for that.
Yeah. Agreed. And I mean,
all right. So, but in general, though, we happy with plates, longer laning phase. The only complaint I actually have about plates is they don't feel as though the laning phase is meaningfully longer. Like,
yeah.
I feel like if you're ahead,
The first
and you're,
turn's still often going down before like 11 minutes.
I've had a lot of variance within lane timings. It seems sometimes to go like to 15 minutes or so, which seems long.
Yeah. I
And
think
then
it's
sometimes it goes down real fast, which is real weird.
To me, it's like a similar. I don't know why the turret plates go down at 14 minutes. I'd actually like to see them stay the whole game because I'd like to see first turret stay alive longer overall. Just in general, I'd like to see first turret stay alive longer.
Okay, so to answer that, the reason they go down after 14 minutes is because that's their way of saying, hey, early game champions, did you knock the plates off? Well, you get that gold, and they lose the opportunity to get that gold later.
Sure.
Like, so that's fine that it has a drop-off point for me because that ensures that people who are aggressively attacking the turret get a meaningful advantage out of it, and the other person is denied that advantage.
What I'd actually prefer to see happen is they decrease the amount of gold that the plates give after 14 minutes because it feels like first turrets after 14, like just first turrets in general after 14 minutes do not feel like difficult objectives to take
now
down
that you
at
say
all.
that, I'm entirely agreeing that that's a better way to handle it. Like if it
because it just feels like the first turrets, the tier 1 turrets are so fragile after the plates go down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like from what I've seen, I mean, maybe that's intended, maybe that's good, but I think that it laning phase would be even longer successfully probably if you kept the plates up, even if you reduce the gold count. Like if it goes down to 80 golds and then after 20 minutes it goes down to 40 gold or something like that, you know?
And I don't think this is balanced. Like, I don't know. They say it's for early game champs, like to, you know, be incentivized to get more money and stuff like that early. But in my experience, it's more like wave clear champs are the ones who are benefiting from this.
I would agree with that.
Champs. Because like I'm actually the one who's getting more plates than my opponent almost every single time because I'm Zillion with Smite and minions.
Because minions are the best way to do damage to the plates. Right. Because the with the Katarina example, like say that Katarina's against Zillion instead. Katarina has kill pressure on the Zillion. The Zillion has 0 kill pressure on the Katarina, basically. And Katarina also wants to roam.
Right. So if she roams, she loses gold usually.
Yeah, and she's all. But the problem is she has, like Zillion has the option to stand in the lane and wave clear and push in, and Katarina does not. That's not a valid course of action for Katarina in that matchup because she will never outpush Zillion. She will never get turret plates. And she will never scale because she's not getting any kills.
She has to either try to kill me, and then
which is not going to work probably if you play smart.
6, she has to play smart, but she can.
Yeah, she can do it, but it's not
especially
likely.
because I don't have a defensive summoner spell.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
but say you do take heal, she's never going to kill you, really. I mean, unless you make a bad mistake or you get ganked.
Yeah, unless jungler really helps her.
Yeah. And
so I mean we've talked about the plates. I think we've covered it really well. The other aspect of turrets that change that I'm really quite concerned about is damage. Right?
They do a fuck ton.
They do a fuck ton of damage. So I have actually made a long-term statement that every player below plat is super, and including plat actually, and including some diamond players, are super scared of turrets. Guys, they don't just shoot you to death in one shot. Well, now actually they kind of do. So, you know, that's, I guess, no longer accurate information. I don't know.
Low elo players have a tendency of acting like there's this, like, turrets are the death zone. and you instantly die if you get
Well, like,
if you
all
take a turret's
five-
aggro.
All 5 players on your team instantly die if minions.
If they
don't
walk
hit
under
or something.
turret.
Yeah, if they walk under
Except
turret.
now that really does happen. So fuck.
Yeah.
That's
So
yeah.
let's talk about this. Like, I think Riot's goal here, and this is my best understanding of what I have read and extrapolating out logic, was that they wanted laning phase to go longer. And if laning phase goes longer and someone is behind, they want them to not feel as though they are being curb stomped, right? So they're going to give them a safe place to be, which is under their tower, and give them basically a mechanic, which would be bounties or, CSing as things crash into tower or whatever, for them to stay relevant, right? Um, that being said, I felt like tower dives were already hard enough.
Well,
Like,
because this is not the first time that damage has been increased on turrets.
correct.
This
And
has happened in the
and I'll tell you
past.
this. The thing that in the past it was actually a good damage change was tower ramped up in damage faster. Like, additional tower hits did more damage.
Which meant you
So if
had
you
to execute your dives more
precisely.
cleanly. Yeah.
Hmm.
Because the difference between that 5th and 6th turret shot was going to be quite significant. Or I guess 3rd and 4th tower
Yeah,
shot was going to be
third and
quite
fourth would be the better,
Yeah.
more realistic. Like, you're
Like
not.
if you can execute this dive in 3 turret shots, it works. If you execute it in 4 turret shots, one of you dies. Like
Right.
that was an okay change, and it did make it harder to dive, but in a relatively fair way, I would say. But then this is just
No
do
matter
not
what,
dive.
if you have 3 tower shots, you will die.
I mean, like I was one of my plays, I took 2 like I just walked like a millimeter in front of the minions, like later on into the game, and I took 2 turret shots on accident while like in the time I was backing up, and it did 500 damage when I was like level 16. Like it
Yeah.
did like 500 damage to a champion with a decent like maybe like not a great amount of armor, but like it was just
Okay.
insane. Like,
If you have ever tried to turret dive at like level 3 before this patch, that's what turrets feel like now throughout the game.
yeah.
Is that you're level 3 and turret will kill you in like 3
Like squishy
shots.
champions can no longer afford to take turret shots ever. Like that is
And
just the
so,
worst thing you can do now.
so the problem that I have is creating this safe zone creates a spot where I can't extend a lead anymore. Right? Like, if I'm 4-0, the tower should be a like not a non-issue,
Or
but it should be something I can account for.
or if your
Right?
team is just like playing the macro so well that that your team can afford to send 4 people down to dive the bot lane, they should actually be successful doing that. I think that 4-man dives are just an integral part of bot lane, and it's the nature of League being a team game. Yeah, it feels shitty if you're the 2 people, and especially if your mid lane and jungler are just jerking off instead of helping you. Feels like crap. But if they manage their waves properly and they recognize the opportunity to execute a 4-man dive and
And
they seize
actually
it
do it
and actually execute it to a degree that is
clean.
degree that is clean, they should be rewarded for that, you know?
Yeah.
Like they should gain an advantage off that. But this safe zone makes it so that you're definitely taking down at least one of them, no matter how well they execute it. Because the ramp damage on like say that they were to like increase this damage, but the ramp gets reset every time it switches aggro or something like that. I don't think that would be a good fix either. But say that was the change. So like I can go in as the top laner when I'm diving, take 2 turret shots. They do a massive amount of damage to me, but I reset it, and then my jungler goes in, and the turret is reset on him back to 0% damage scaling. So he takes 2 turret shots, and it does a decent amount of damage to him, but I've come back into turret range, and we dive and do that. That would be a way to like incentivize smart turret dives. I don't think it would be good necessarily because you could just keep trading aggro or something dumb like that.
Well, I mean,
but
the other thing is this also gives a huge advantage to champions who have a way to drop tower.
or a
Yes.
Way
stasis ability.
more
This
than they
this is
ever
what
did
I'm
before.
thinking mostly. As
Or-
not just the drop tower, but then the high mobility bruiser types too also tend to really benefit from this. And even like I think problems like Akali and Aurelia as well.
I mean, Akali already doesn't get shot by turrets, so I don't
Right,
think
no.
it affects. I'm just
No.
fucking with
I
you.
mean,
now.
that's what I'm saying though.
So
Like,
Fuck that
okay,
champion.
so real quick, I want to do a PSA for anybody who hops in the Discord. You will not play Akali if you play with us. It's not gonna happen. I'm not leaving that champion unbanned ever for any reason. I don't care if you're an Akali one trick
And you have first
and
pick.
you have first pick.
It's
That
not
champion's
happening.
not getting left open. I'll tell you this. In the last month, we've had first pick. Somebody's told us they want to play Akali, and every time that situation has happened, Akali never gets picked. We don't get her because they change their mind, and then it's up, and then it gets picked by the other team, and then we have to play against Akali, which is something that I refuse to do. So do not be offended.
she's
I
been
have
deleted
forewarned
from
you.
League of Legends Anonymous.
As far as I'm concerned, that champion does not fucking exist.
I mean, this is the best I felt about the 5-ban system since its inception. I just don't have to play against Akali. Like I can just pretend that problem doesn't exist. Like Riot, like I can just shut my ears, la 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 la, just like Riot does whenever people level valid criticisms at their video game. I can just do that for Akali. Like it doesn't exist. It literally doesn't exist for me. It's
This is
amazing.
so low key harsh. Like, just like Riot does. Moving on. This is like Jesus Christ. It's just like you walked by a woman in the street and stabbed her in the stomach 5 times and just kept walking and whistling as just kept going right on by. Nothing
No,
to
Jai would
see
have come up
here.
with.
Fuck. So anyway, yeah, I think towers are a bit hard hitting with the damage, but I don't know that Riot's gonna back off of it, and that I think
God, I hope
actually,
they do.
well, I think it makes the game less fun. And
Yeah, no. Well, okay, that was the point I wanted to make because turret like you guys mentioned with plants and with like the turret like when plants were first introduced and like the turret plates, it's like those things, even though they were not necessarily widely accepted by all the players at their inception, whether you think they're good or not, they at least facilitate gameplay in some way. Like they change the way that you play the game. They make you make critical decisions like, do I take this health plant now or do I take it later, but when I get lower, but maybe risk the enemy player getting it or something like that.
or
Do I take this?
boom over
Do I use
this
my
wall with this blast plant and
Yep.
like?
or do I use my movement ability? Like what do I do in this situation? Do I roam to go try to get my bot lane ahead, or do I hit turret plates because I forced them out of lane? It like facilitates these gameplay decisions that make you actually critically think about the state of the game.
It gives you agency.
Yes, you gain the agency to make more decisions and think more about the game, and those decisions have an impact on the game. The game is not more fun for either player because of towers being stronger. Because you no longer have the ability to dive, but you also no longer have the ability to outplay a dive, which I think that people just assume that dives are like, oh, they're junglers behind me, I'm dead, GG. Like you have so much ability to play around your turret and try to outplay the enemy when they dive you. It's gameplay on both ends. If I just push the tower into you and then decide it's not worth to dive because I'm going to get 3-shot by the turret at level 6, I'm just not going to fight you. I'm just going to go back to base. And then you don't have the opportunity to outplay me, and I don't have the opportunity to outplay you. There's no gameplay there. It's just me, again, choosing to play it safe and just go back to my base because I will die like 100% if I try to dive in that situation,
See, to me, playing it safe should always be the compromise option.
Yes.
Like, okay, I can't get what I want, so I'm gonna play safe.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think it should be the default option, or else your gameplay goes poor.
Yes.
Or
And like,
you
and the thing is
decide
like,
to, like main Cillian.
and the thing is, well, the thing is, even with champions that have like traditionally safe playstyles like Zillion, you can still like playing safe
Can
as
be
a
a total-
default
yeah.
option is incorrect. Like there are situations where you have to go aggressive or you're making the wrong decision.
Yeah.
And that's true of every champion in the game.
True.
That like even champions that are supposed to quote unquote play safe, there are still times where they have an advantage and they have to go aggressive or they don't get anything out of that positional advantage, Like Kog'Maw being weak in the early game is bad, but say that you're against a Draven, but Draven just used his flash and heal on your jungler's gank, and you and your support have full summoners, and all the enemy bot lane has is ignite. That is an example of a time where it can be good for you to go aggressive, even if you're playing a champion that's supposed to be safe 90% of the time. But if you don't go aggressive there when you have a very high opportunity to get a kill, you're not making the safe play, you're making the wrong play. And I think that's something that gets glossed over a lot.
And that's the thing is like I don't know of anybody who before this season was like, you know what, towers, they're just not safe enough.
I think the problem was with the tower HP, which they fixed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the problem was you'd be winning your lane, you'd be doing okay the whole game, and then you'd get dove one time, and then you would just you'd get dove by the jungler one time, and then they'd just take your turret from full HP to 0 instantly, and you just lost every lead that you accrued entire lane phase. That was the problem.
And then it runs off in other lanes. And
exactly. And the problem was not with the turret damage, it was with the turret HP and the turret squishiness. It was way too easy to kill the turrets. And then they fixed that with the turret plating this season, which I think it's mostly a good change.
To play devil's advocate for Riot, right? You just introduced turret plating, you made turrets worth a lot more gold, and in higher elos like LCS style, I remember before they introduced like the shit to stop the 3-man or 4-man push strategy. You remember when they did that, the 4-man push strategies?
Yes. Well,
where they would
are you
just
talking about the level 1 lane swaps?
Yeah, where they just show up and like hard smash a turret on the 3rd wave, and they'd build up that wave and then just who's getting the first turret? Bam, 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 bam. And like top 2 turrets would be gone and the bottom 2 turrets would be gone, and they would play the game from there, right?
And then in response to that, they introduced increased turret plating on the top and mid turrets so that you could no longer lane swap. So like if you were to do that strategy after that change took effect, if you were the team that was forced to swap to top lane,
right,
then you would just be hitting a turret that would be taking very little damage from you.
Right. And so I thought that was a fine change, right? But I think in doing the plating that you potentially invite that same issue right back into the game.
Well, and if it does end up happening again, it'll only be for a patch or so, and then Riot will.
Well, I mean, I think that's why they did. That's why they did crazy increased damage, because then one person could theoretically I mean, hell, at level 1 or 2.
Well, why don't
one person could defend a tower against 4 with how much turret damage is going on.
What would be the smartest change to make is that, like, say that turrets get increased resistances when multiple enemy champions are near them. And it just makes it so that, like, doing that is
discouraged.
So slow that if you leave your bot lane bot and then you just send one person to top lane, like, if you make it a mismatch, then you will, and like the enemy team guesses wrong, if you make it a mismatch, then their turret, whichever team has less players, will take it as quickly, and they'll also have more you know what I mean? Like, if they make it so you, like, instead of both teams sending 4 people to a side lane, so 4 bot versus 1, and then, or 4 bot versus 0 and 4 top versus 0, they make it so that, like, that strategy is just not going to do enough damage because you're going to not scale up properly. So instead, your team sends 1 person bot lane, they still do damage and take turret plates, and they get solo EXP and farm up, and then they send 3 people top lane to combat the enemy team's 4 people, and the turret's still going to do enough. Even at old levels, it's going to do enough to not dive them, and they're going to be doing very little damage because of the reduced armor, or the increased armor that I'm throwing out here. And your solo laner is going to be doing more damage, maybe not overall, but more damage by themselves. and they'll be getting solo turret plates, they'll be getting solo EXP, they'll be doing more damage per person because they're only one person versus the other 4 people. So like if you just implemented a change like that, it would fix it. Like I don't think that's going to become a problem again because I think it's way too the turret plates are not worth enough to incentivize something that annoying. But if it does happen, I think that will be relatively easy to fix because they can just implement something similar to what they already have in the past, you know?
Yeah,
But
I think you're
I don't know.
probably right. I mean, yeah.
That's not what I'm concerned about. But
Well, no,
I
I
know
mean,
what
I
you're
think
saying.
that's the only reason I can come up with why they would like ratchet it up, that and they extended laning phase, so they just don't want people getting extended smashed in laning phase.
Sure.
Right? That's the real reason is that, and then they don't want I'm gonna smash all your plates strategy to go nuts where they bring down
Yeah.
3 people.
To me, that's the sort of issue that, like, if it's not clear whether it's going to happen or not, you wait to see if it does happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I think it's really hard to say at the current point whether or not
Well,
that's going to be the LCS strategy.
Well, I mean, and that being said, it won't happen until the LCS starts anyway, because nobody.
Yeah, and if LCS is trash for a patch, so be it, dude. You get 2 bad games per. It's whatever. Like if LCS is bad for a patch, they fix it next patch, and then it's good because that's the sort of thing that's because they fixed something so similar in the past. I hope to God they have the common sense to fix it in a similar way again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean the turret damage is just garbage because it just invites you to not.
So that's the thing is I feel concerned that and bounties may be like reduced in god awfulness, but it's still gonna be like not put to a point of reasonability. It's gonna be like 150% of what's reasonable when it all dies down. And I don't think it's even at 150% of reasonable now. I think it's like, I don't know, 250% of reasonable, right? Like, I'm just throwing out my feelings, right? Not like I actually have math behind this, but hopefully that gets honestly addressed. Because the other thing is, if you watch pretty much any high elo streamer right now, these changes that we're actually complaining about are kind of universally bitched at.
Especially,
Right?
yeah, the turret damage and the bounties are really disliked from a lot of players at higher ranks because I think that a lot of people that get really good at this game, the part of the game that they enjoy the most is the player interaction element, which is the case for me and especially the case for Blake as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like that's being de-incentivized by some of the directions that Riot has gone. And that's where the frustration comes from, is like it feels so much less interactive.
To me, plays and outplays are what makes this game worth playing.
Exactly. Like the feeling I get when I outplay someone is like nothing else, you know? Yeah. Like fun to out rotate people, but like just a straight 1v1 outplay just feels really, really good to me, you know?
Yeah. So I think
it feels like I don't have the option to do that as
I just like it when my opponent doesn't have any fun.
I just like it when my opponent doesn't have any minions.
People think
you
that me and
bastard.
People think that me and Blake are the crazy ones on the podcast, but it's Zill. Zill's the one. Out of the 3 of us, which is the most likely to shoot up a shopping mall? Zill. 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
Like no question. The Teemo main, the Teemo and Zillion main.
Yeah,
no question.
You already like got so many mental health red flags right there. You know,
it's true.
So
you heard it here. When it happens in 6 months, they're gonna link to this podcast, and we're gonna be famous.
And I'm like, hey, we told you guys. Really, we did. We
the
warned you.
Test. What is his match history?
Yeah.
What are his mastery points?
Episode 215. I deny any liability for
the
this.
recent mass shooter has been confirmed to have been a Zillion main. We're talking to 2 of his former friends now.
Do you think League of Legends made him more violent? Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. I've never actually said that about a video game before.
Suffer.
Yeah. But he's a big fan of causing others blindness. And, slowed movement. He thinks he has the power to resurrect people. Like, he's nuts, man.
Between the mall shooter and the cannibal that was Wormlax, I feel like we need to work on our
Oh,
our
by the way, I want to talk about that.
selection of.
We're gonna we're gonna wrap it up right now, but I just want to tell you a story to the community real quick before I wrap this thing up. So, Ashley came on, and she had actually asked me to like goof around with her and toss some jokes and make it lighthearted because she was really nervous and she didn't want to like screw up talking too much, so like goof around a lot because I mean that's what we do anyway. I got like two emails in particular. It was like, "Hey, don't be so mean to Ashley," and I'm like, "Oh,
She's
you
a
guys,
grill gamer.
yeah, you guys clearly don't understand the nature of like our relationship
Dynamic,
on the
yeah.
podcast, or our dynamic would be a better way to say that, you know." So I was like, "All right, whatever, not a big deal." But then we got like a third email that was like, "You shouldn't be mean to Ashley. Don't make her your wormlax." And I went, "Oh, what?" And then what's funny is like I haven't talked to Wormlax in like forever, right? And then I got really paranoid about it. I was like, was I such a dick to Wormlax that he just like took off and disappeared and never came back? Like, because he quit the podcast, but it was because he had shit going on, like in his life,
Or
right?
so we thought.
Or so we thought, but
Dun,
maybe
dun,
it was
dun.
just because I'm a huge asshole, And so I was like, "What? Oh no!" So I told Wormlax, I was like, "Hey, just to throw this out there, this is a piece of feedback I got. He thought that shit was hilarious. He was like, just for the record, I had never felt bullied. That wasn't a thing. I got a job in another state and I had to relocate." I was like, "All right, cool." By the way, he was at community games this week, so
Yeah, he was.
yeah. So no, we didn't like run off Wormlax or like beat him senseless mentally. Like that didn't happen. He's cool. We're fine. But you guys got me paranoid about it with your weird feedback, so I had to ask. But
I think
yeah,
that this podcast would be better if everyone was just nice to each other 24/7.
yeah, like we just hug to round out every podcast. Just
Yeah,
get right
doesn't
up in
that
your
sound
camera.
nice?
No, like no, and not entertaining.
Yeah, I'm pretty bony. I don't know if you want to hug me.
So
It's not. I can only
yeah,
imagine.
you got no meat on them bones.
Yeah.
I like my young boys a lot meatier than that, generally.
Yeah, I don't want to hug a wet blanket. So.
Astros is the wet blanket, not me.
I know, that's what I'm talking about.
No, Astros is like Ben Gay. He starts off cool, but then he gets hot,
He smells.
and then he shoots up a mall like Ben Gay. So, all right, with that, here we go. Announcements. TZfinity, thank you, by the way, for your sub. I appreciate you. That's 2 months in a row. He did it live while we were on the show, so I just wanted to give him a shout out and say thanks, buddy. I really appreciate that. We are approaching Twitch actually sending us our first check. I looked, and it looks like if I go to, I don't know, where do I go? Channel, or is it stream summary? Nope, it's channel. We have $21.88 of total revenue sitting around, and if I can get that number up to $100, then we actually get a check from Twitch. Otherwise, we don't. So if you guys would be so kind as to drop your Twitch subs here, I would appreciate it, particularly if you guys are like Amazon Prime members and get one for free.
I'm actually at the Twitch headquarters right now in their dungeon. They're keeping me hostage
Yeah.
until we hit $100.
Because I would love to get some real Twitch support at some point in my lifetime, other than like, like, oh yeah, has it been 14 days? No, it hasn't. We're actually good. Oh yeah, cool. Well, do you archive your videos? Sure do, buddy. Oh yeah, we can't recover that anyway. Thanks for answering my question. Yeah, at some point I would like to get something from Twitch, preferably a check would be better. But thank you guys for
I
that.
think we need to get Blake some like M&Ms or something so he can get the taste of bitterness out of his mouth.
Yeah, I'm sour as fuck on that. But yeah, we do actually have, some people who are supporting the podcast. We got some bits in. I'm still not 100% sure, but
I think one bit is 1 cent, I believe.
Oh, well, somebody gave us 3 bits last
So that's
month.
3 cents.
So we made 3 cents, and we have $5.01 in total bits since inception. So I'm cool with it. Keep them coming. That's fun. But thank you guys for that. I really appreciate it. It's awesome to see that we are supported. And that being said, Patreon's come through huge. We have been kind of consistently over that 200 mark. That's awesome. And I've already used that money to buy Danger Penguin a new camera. It's being sent to him. It'll be here tomorrow. So I sent it out to his house, just to Danger Penguin. So it gets sent to.
Hopefully they know who that is.
Yeah, they'll figure it out.
Did you write it in crayon
Yeah, so his
on the shipping address? Send it to Danger.
No,
Penguin.
Amazon did. I just sent it direct from Amazon. So he's getting that, and hopefully he won't look like he's smeared in butter and a Minecraft character moving forward. So
does he? Okay, wait. Does he look like a Minecraft character and also like he was smeared in butter, or does he look like he was literally smeared in butter mixed with a Minecraft character?
Have you not seen his webcam when he first turns it on, Ponderous?
No.
Okay, so it's great. I don't know what kind of webcam this is. I've never seen anything like it. But it does like an 80s Tron thing where it puts like a grid on the screen and then it like fills in the picture in the grid and then the grid fades out, but it never fully focuses. So it's always kind of blurry and the picture is so few megapixels that it's like got clear pixels in it.
On the end of the webcam.
I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like one of those really, really old security camera footage, Like, have you ever watched a really old security camera where you see like a guy breaking into a house or something and you're like, yep, that's a person. But there's no other like real distinguishing features.
Have you seen this man?
Yeah.
This black smudge on the screen?
I feel like just having Danger Penguin on with his
black
current
smudge
webcam.
He's dressed in all black, by the way. Not like racially black. I want to make that.
I didn't even put that together.
I wasn't even thinking that.
I don't think anyone was going to go that direction, but I just want to be clear before anyone does.
Well, no, the other day.
When I run for president in 30 years, I can't have this stuff biting me in the ass,
Yeah.
That you were on the podcast with a serial killer?
Yeah. I'm selling this shit to the Inquirer for 6 figures.
Well, cut me in if you do.
Oh, you will.
It's only fair.
No, I'll give you the option to buy me out first. Standard deal. But no, I had one of those the other day. I was trying to say black shield and thick skin. And I was like, oh, Tom Kinch didn't use his black skin. And then I went, oh, shit. I mean, bad times. So anyway, yeah, thank you guys for your Patreon support. Really appreciate it. Send out Danger Penguin some new equipment, so hopefully he won't look like shit. Well, I mean, at least it'll be higher res.
We don't know what he looks like currently.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know what he looks like. I just assumed he had burglarized a whole bunch of places in the 90s. And the longer he has that webcam, the more likely he is to be misidentified. So we got that sorted. And thank you guys. Really appreciate it. I may end up kind of doing the same thing for Astros too, so he actually has a webcam. Don't tell him though, I don't want him to feel loved. That was the whole point of the Twitter poll. He doesn't do all the work I did with that Twitter poll.
I have one last announcement actually. So January 3rd, we're doing another LOLA tournament. There is a sign-up sheet in the announcements section on our Discord. And registration for that is going to end on December 13th. So you got a little ways, and then I'm going to cut that off and start making teams. So just so you guys know.
You know what? I was just, I was kind of talking to some of the listeners before this. And you know what they all unanimously were saying to me?
What's that?
I hope the next episode is 2 fucking hours long. That's what I hope happens.
Did we hit 2 hours? Holy shit. Okay. Well, that makes up for episode 113, right?
Every time I came back with a rebuttal, you guys had something else to say. So
there we go. I'm not shifting blame away from anyone but myself.
By the way, do you want to hear something interesting? I was looking through, to see our like how we've made money on Twitch or how we should make money on Twitch, but don't because we can never hit the $100 threshold. Uh, and it has a deal. It's like, where did my views come from? We share 14% of our viewers, our like regular channel viewers, are from Voyboy.
Okay.
How weird
Well,
is that?
I did carry him in that one ranked game.
Oh
But
yeah,
I
we
didn't
did.
actually
We played
carry
2
him,
ranked
true.
games. You and I did with Voyboy. So
Yeah, but
that's
we had
cool.
paste eaters in one of them, and then we played
Yeah.
with him, and I just camped his lane, and then we won.
Yeah, it's weird. Like getting Voyboy ahead won us the game. Who knew? So interesting. I don't know. Like I never would have thought that we have a whole lot in common with Voyboy, but apparently we do. So that's cool.
It's because we both have like positive energies. I think.
In that 2 negatives make a positive, or how do you want to justify that?
That's math.
The only
Mathematically
positive one
sound.
here is Zill.
Yeah, but
That's
I
why
mean,
we
if
actually
you do,
brought him on tonight, was to balance out our horse
well,
shit.
if you do a positive number times a negative number times a negative number, it's still a positive number. So
I'm not checking your math, but I feel like it's suspect. And with
no,
that,
it's right.
I will say good night, everybody.
My math is right. Fuck you.
All right. Stop the recording, cutting the stream.